And welcome to the Fantasy Hockey Hacks Hangout here on Edmonton Sports Talk. In true Hacks fashion, we start the evening with technical difficulties. I think just about everybody had one difficulty or another, so we're off to a great start this evening. So I'm your host. Yeah, we're all good. We can hear you. We're good. I'm blaming John. It's all
Yeah,
John.
it's
It's all
probably
John.
me. My bad. I'm sorry. I apologize. Oops.
So we are live here tonight on EdmontonSportsTalk.com and on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/heavyhockey. Tonight joining us, we have got John Enns from, you're still working at Marquis' house?
Yes, just for the foreseeable future for now, but that'll be changing again. But oh well, all good.
No fire alarms this week?
Better not be.
All right. And joining us from his home, Mr. Evan Diebert. Welcome, Evan.
Hey, Bruce, how are you?
Good. I think now that we got the technical difficulties out of the way, we can actually start doing the show. Oh, boy. So we got a regular formatted show for you this evening. We're going to talk a little bit about the Oilers, got around the league. We have a trade to talk about tonight, too. And we've got hot or not. So do we want to take, maybe we should, you guys want to talk about the trade first? And then we can jump into the Oilers stuff?
Yeah, I think that's the hot topic for the day here today.
So what we had here earlier this evening is the Calgary Flames traded center Elias Lindholm to the Vancouver Canucks for Andrei Kuzmenko. Hunter Brzezowski, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Hunter B.
Brustevich.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Joni Germo. Joni Germo. Flames fans are going to butcher me for this one. I tried practicing the names before we came on air, and that wasn't good. And then 2024 first round pick and a conditional 2024 fourth round pick, although I do not know what the conditions are. I didn't see them posted anywhere.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because that might be tied to the success that they have in the playoffs here. But
kind of what I'm thinking too. I'm sure it'll probably come out here in the next day or two.
Regardless, we're not going to anoint a winner or a loser of that trade here today. But yeah, it's surprising that the Flames moved Lindholm this early, and not trying to squeeze out every last little bit they could get in return for him.
Yeah, and in division too, like that's like we're talking rivals here almost. Like it's
definitely rivals. I know, like outside of the Oilers, the Flames fans hate the Canucks.
Canucks are next on the list, right?
Yeah. So yeah, surprising to move them. I'm really surprised that they took Andrei Kuzmenko back in this deal. They shedded some well, they didn't even shed any salary in this trade. Brustevich is a great defenseman. He's very smooth, sees the ice well, great playmaker. I like him. He's third in scoring in the OHL as a defenseman this year in his draft +1. And so I like that piece for the Flames. He has a few things to work on, but I've been a fan of his for well over a year now. Joni Jurmo, not familiar too much. I heard he had some good draft capital when they drafted him, but he hasn't progressed much. But late first, so it's the Kuzmenko part is the interesting one for the Flames. Yeah. I think. What do you guys think?
I took a look at Joni's stats here just before we came on. He's 6'5", 210 plus pounds defenseman. Okay. He's 21 years old. He's playing over in Europe. It looks like he's playing over in Europe right now.
Yeah.
Like that's yikes. Like he's big, but that's what's trending now in the NHL. Big defensemen that can move, and they obviously liked him for a reason.
Yeah, it's the Canucks had to give something in it. So for them to not give Willander, LeCarry Mackey, like any of their upper echelon, even Podkolzig, so Hunter would have been, third, fourth on their depth chart for their prospects. So yeah, it's to attach that to a first. I think the Flames could have held out and maybe got a little better deal, but especially taking Kuzmenko. But I have a feeling that the Flames are going to try to, do a little Sharangovich magic with Kuzmenko and pair him up with Huberdeau and maybe see where that goes. And they might be trying to look for some chemistry because I know the Flames definitely need some goal scoring. So
Yeah, well, can't be any worse, right? Than like you lose Lindholm at center, but you've got Kadri and Backlund, and heck, if they can set it up so that Huberdeau is feeding Kuzmenko the puck and he's putting it in the net, that's exactly what they're looking for, right?
yeah, if it works.
Hopefully.
Are they just going to try reclamation projects with Huberdeau for the next 7 years, or?
Oh yeah, because I don't think they can trade him. Not at his
No.
cap hit.
No, they hitched their wagon to him, and he's been good since the new year. He's been point per game pretty much since the new year. So it hasn't been that. The Flames have been really inconsistent and not great. So they're falling out. I think we'll see them ship all their UFAs at this point.
Was Lindholm sitting with Sharangovich and Lindholm on the same line, or they've been moving them around? Do you remember?
Sorry, I was just adjusting my my headset. What did you say there, Bruce?
I was just wondering if with the now that Lindholm is gone, was Lindholm on the same line as Sharangovich, and I don't know who else would have been on that line.
I'm not sure. I haven't caught a Flames game in a little while here, but yeah, and the thing with Lindholm is he's not having the greatest season this year. So he's definitely fallen back from his his 80-90 point season he had with Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau. But so yeah, we'll see. And I don't see in Vancouver he's going to be having much better forwards unless they break up that Lotto line.
Yeah, they've got. Well, there's all kinds of speculation where everyone's going to slot in everywhere and that. So when I saw I think Ryan posted it in the group chat about him getting traded, and he looked. Yeah, it's like, hey, well, they moved Kuzmenko because Kuzmenko just wasn't fitting into the plan there. He's kind of a floater, and that doesn't sit well on Tocchet's team. So, yeah. And then I think it's more to make the money work, right? So Kuzmenko's cap hit is slightly bigger than Lindholm's right now. So I think Vancouver actually freed up a little bit of additional cap space too because of it.
Yeah, it was definitely to make the money work, I'd say, for sure. And Kuzmenko still has, I don't think he has much value, but he still has potential. And so he could bounce back and just given a better chance, a fresh start, different system. So,
and
we'll see.
Yeah, the teams are beating Vancouver's door down to see if they would be willing to trade Kuzmenko. I probably a lot of lowball offers, but I'm willing to bet too that Calgary may get offers for them too to flip them for something else. So that might be something they might keep in mind too. But they do need goal scoring, and he definitely can do that. So
yeah, he definitely can. His unsustainable shooting percentage last season. So you could chalk last season up to that. But like I said, it's a fresh start. I don't know how much you're going to be able to flip Kuzmenko this season, just because he carries that $6 million cap hit next season. But coming into next year, if the Flames are still in their rebuild mode, and they could eat half that contract at the deadline, you might find some suitors if he is able to bounce back.
Oh, for sure. John, what do you think?
Yeah, no, just same sentiments. Calgary needs some scoring, and Kuzmenko can definitely bring it. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Yeah, the $6 million cap hit for next year does kind of waver things a little bit, but yeah, you never know. Someone might come knocking too.
Kuzmenko's just hoping he doesn't have to forecheck like Tocchet wanted him to do in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's just he was a sacrificial lamb there, and just wasn't working. I don't think the Canucks were a fan of his choice of off-season training, where he was doing it in Bali in the summer.
Nice. I
Yeah.
approve.
Hey,
I think
yeah.
that's fantastic.
If you're a professional athlete in your mid-20s, could think of worse places to spend the off season.
Exactly.
So,
You could be in Siberia instead. Like,
yeah, exactly. So,
I think Bali's a great place to train.
yeah, I'm with you, John. Though I don't get the $6 million carrying it over to next year. They're actually doing the Canucks a favor with this by taking that on, because straight up, late first, very late first, their third or fourth best prospect and some other throw-ins is about the value. So they took on Kuzmenko's contract for free. So they must be desperate. It's kind of similar to the Toffoli trade, where they brought on Sharon Govich with that, and everyone was just kind of like, well, we're trying to get younger, and it was like a 24, 25-year-old player, but that's turned out. So maybe they're trusting their pro scouts and seeing what they can do with creating some, like we said, goal scoring and some chemistry.
Well, yeah, they definitely need goal scoring. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But you got to think too, if they traded Lindholm, there's more coming.
Yeah. Whatever. Flames are in this like tailspin where they can't pick a direction. And it's frustrating as I'm not a Flames fan like diehard. I live in the city in Calgary here, and so it's frustrating to just see them miss opportunities for a rebuild. Like when Johnny and Kachuk wanted out, it was obvious that was the time to rebuild, but their ownership or management or whoever didn't want to do it, and now they're just going to continuously pay the piper. But they need to move out Hanifin and Tanev now. Yeah.
Because they would have in the trade not signed, or I guess going into the year last year, I guess not signed Huberdeau and Uyghur and decided to trade them as opposed to that, they would have got probably lots for both.
Oh, I've gone on this rant many a times. They could have walked away with like 5 or 6 firsts, a bunch of prospects if they would have traded Huberdeau and ate some of his contract. You wouldn't even really have to. Uyghur, Hanifin, Tanev, Lindholm, even Backlund. Just ship out. You just do a total rebuild. You got a new arena coming. You plan to be good for then. Because and I get it. You're blowing up the whole team. It's not a likely scenario, but you're not going anywhere with this core, and you're losing your 2 best players. And so it's just like the time was then. But, yeah. They went a different direction, and now they're just doing it 2 years later, or trying to.
Uyghur's been better this year, but Huberdeau is still, like you said, he's been better since Christmas, but it's still not worth $10.5 million.
Well, it's not necessarily what they're worth. It's like what else was around them for the team to do well. So it was, you could bring in a couple good players like Huberdeau and Uyghur, but you just don't have the surrounding team. And they tried, signing Kadri. They thought Lindholm was a bit more of a important ingredient to that top line in Calgary.
Yeah.
But since then, he's fallen off big time points wise. So, yeah. But hey, Canucks looking good. Good trade for them. And that's a no-brainer for sure, especially swapping out Cap for Kuzmenko for Lindholm. And they're the team to beat in the West right now. Well, outside of you guys.
That's a great segue.
I hope you meet in the division final. Yeah, Oilers Canucks division final. That'd be nice.
Be very nice. So let's transition into that. So that was a great segue. So 16-game winning streak. So Oilers are taking, the Oiler fan base is taking lots of flack over this. It's like, they're playing all the weak teams. I'm like, okay, but they're beating them. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Isn't that how this is supposed to work? Like, yeah, okay, maybe they're not all top tier teams, but you're supposed to beat the teams that are below you in the standings, and they're doing that. And they've done it 16 times in a row. I don't know. It's
the way it should be.
exactly right. I don't want everyone's just jealous that we can actually do it now for once, as opposed to taking our normally scheduled losses against Chicago and Columbus. We actually beat them. That's
do you guys ever bet on hockey?
no, I would lose my house if I did that.
Yeah, I mean,
How about you, John?
no.
No?
I'm too cheap to bet on anything.
I like to play crazy parlays. I'll do like $1 and pick like a lot of games in a night, and like 12 games, and $1 can turn into $1,000 or something. And it is so hard in this league to pick winners. Like,
Oh yeah,
it doesn't matter who you're playing night in, night out. Like, who cares if more than half the teams aren't playoff teams for this winning streak? The league is so close. On any given night, you could get goalied. You could, have a tough travel schedule. Your goalie could have an off night, and so I don't look at the schedule because everyone's had easy stretches over the time. It's remarkable. You guys are on a 16-game winning streak, like not even undefeated or regulation. Whatever. Haven't lost in regulation in 16 games. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. All the credit at this point, it's perfect that you got Vegas, the reigning Stanley Cup champ, to tie the record. And then after that, see how far it goes. I think Ryan and I, in our last episode, we were trying to nail down when we think they might lose. And we had it till, if they get past Vegas, till Dallas, which is like 21 games. So,
oh wow,
because you got the Ducks. I think you have the Ducks, Kings, Vegas, then Detroit, someone else, and then you got Dallas. So it's hop on, enjoy the ride. And the interesting thing is that you're not being driven by McDavid and Draisaitl necessarily. Like, it's been a group effort for this.
That's
whole
the
time.
nice part of all of it, is seeing the secondary, like it not being McDavid and Draisaitl. You look at, I think Hyman leads the team is it in goals or is it points too? I can't remember. It's goals because Media's got more points, but Hyman leads in goals. You've got Fogle, you've got McLeod. That's like the only one that really isn't doing anything is Evander Kane.
Yeah,
but he's kind of well, he's back on this. I think he's back on the second line now, but he was on the third line for a while with. They just don't. I don't know what they don't think they know what to do with him right now. Yeah, he's back on the second line.
With Kane, he's shown that he's a gamer in the playoffs for you guys. So you can kind of rest on that, and the fact that you're winning and you don't have all your horses producing, which is great. And he's probably being paid accordingly too, versus the cap. Like, if he was a $7 million player and having this kind of slump, you'd be a little bit of like, oh god, the cap could be used better elsewhere, like another Connor Brown bonus or something like that. But but yeah, no, it's nice. It's nice to watch. And Hyman has, I think he probably leads the league in goals taken away or called back too.
I'm pretty sure he has that one, lead on that one by a very wide.
Yeah, that's what happens when you go hard to the net.
Yeah.
But what a season he's having, of everything that Kenny Holland gets called out on. What a great contract that one was.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think some of the flack from that Oilers winning streak is just from how they started the year, being so terrible, and then all of a sudden they get this winning streak and everyone's like, oh, now they're playing weak teams?
Maybe
I
partially.
haven't heard the flack. I don't know. I'm not in the boiler room like you guys are with the Oilers and living and eat and breathing it. So guys are kind of saying it's like, oh, it's like almost not as legitimate.
Yeah, well, the Oilers' first half of the season, I think schedule wise, was one of the easiest. I think if I remember correctly, and their second half is one of the toughest.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. So,
Whatever.
well, we'll see what happens, right? It's just take it one game at a time, and I'm sure that's what they're going to do. They're not going to look too far ahead. They'll be happy they are, bank some points, and keep playing.
Well, as Oiler fans, you should be used to people saying, "Yeah, but you had the greatest player ever," and you're like, "Okay, yeah, so what? Yeah, so we did. Then we got him again. We got part 2." And so,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the nice part about this season, at least this is, like we had mentioned earlier, is McDavid doesn't have to play lights out. Draisaitl doesn't have to play lights out every night. And this team is still winning.
Still winning and stymieing the opposition.
So they actually
this
play
new
defense
system,
for a change.
Yeah, this new system that Knobloch's got going on. Did you guys see on Chicklets where Whitney read a text from is it Stauffer? Who's your beat guy? Your beat reporter?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's Rashad and what's the other guy's name?
Stafford? I forget. Anyways,
he was talking the color guy on Oilers TV or Oilers.
Okay,
Radio.
It was from him actually. Yeah. So he was talking about Knobloch's system, how he coached the zone previously and everything like that, and with Coffey, challenging his defensemen to not be, afraid to make mistakes too.
Yeah.
And so it's worked, and your guys' system has looked fantastic, and you're shutting down the opposing team, not giving up leads. So there's a lot going on there. It's not like you guys are fluking out with all these late comebacks and things like that, like Florida was doing a couple years ago when they won the President's Trophy, where they would just, be down 3 goals and come back and win 6-5, 7-5. So yeah, it all bodes well for the future, and boy, what a turn of events for Oilers fans. Wow.
Yes, they're all very happy. And then the Oilers get a head start on trade deadline, or one less thing they have to do at trade deadline. They signed Corey Perry here through the rest of the season. The player that most Oilers fans hate the most is now part of the team and made quite the impression in his first game.
I still don't like it.
John still doesn't like it.
Still don't like it? What don't you like about it, John?
I just don't like Corey Perry at all.
Oh, yeah.
I've hated him since the start.
See, that's the thing, though. That is the player you hate to play against, but you love to have on your team because you don't have to go up against that every night now. But the other teams have to, and that was the part about Perry's game that I like. That's what I thought the Oilers were missing in the playoffs. Someone that is willing to do what Perry will do. I think this will be a big help for them.
Yeah, I agree. That is a nice piece for that third line. And so yeah, and I don't know, you guys probably aren't done shopping around. I would think this is most likely the year that you offer up that first and Burgo and go make a run.
If they can have a good second half of the season here, get into the playoffs. It's time to push. It's time to push the chips in and go for it.
Yeah, that's fun. Just go for it.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
Go the Tampa Bay Lightning method. The draft pick isn't going to help me in this year and next year. Just trade it and get someone that can help you and go for it.
They're not far off from Tampa having a similar window. Their players are a little younger, but they don't have the contracts locked in, so that's going to get pricey for them here soon with Draisaitl and McDavid,
and Bouchard.
Yeah, Tampa's totally mortgaged the future. They know it's going to be a rough 3-4 years after once Hedman really takes a step back and Vasilevsky, Kucherov. I don't know. He could keep going forever. That guy is wicked. But yeah, I say you just got to do it. You got to go for it.
I've been saying that for a while now. Just either go for it or tear it down. Pick one or the other. Just do it or don't.
The problem is the prospects don't take leaps. They don't progress. That's the problem. They don't have a ton of value. A guy like Broberg just couldn't put it together.
I guess drafting comes into part of that too. Like the Oilers, you look at some of the other players in the drafts that the Oilers passed on and that, or whiffed on, is a lot to say, and it's maybe that has something to do with it too.
Yeah, scouting staff for sure, they've missed on some picks, or they just rush guys up, or who knows.
There's not often we've been extremely thrilled after draft night.
It's very, very, very true. Or traded. It looks like we're going to break. All right, I'll catch everyone after the break. And welcome back here to the Hacks Hangout here on Edmonton Sports Talk. We are chatting about the Edmonton Oilers and the draft strategies as per se. Have one or didn't have one, we're not entirely sure. They think they had one, but we're not entirely sure they did. But I don't know. All you can do is work with what they gave you, right?
Basically, nobody's really sure how that went.
No,
all those drafts lately.
Well, you've been drafting in the mid part of the first round, so it's not the easiest part to draft, but you think you would snag on one of them. Hopefully Holloway can pan out here. He's got all the tools to be a great player, and it's just finding some chemistry in that top six. So, and then Burgo, we'll see when he gets a chance, but I think he's going to be included in a trade here. And a first and Burgo for something substantial this year at the deadline. You'd probably want term if you're the Oilers, just because, and if you're going to get a defenseman, you want a defenseman with term, not that there's much available, just because you guys are going to be so tight against the cap next year.
Yeah, because we got Connor Brown's bonuses are going to kick in here, and a few other things.
Enjoy the ride right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 16-game win streak. Have some fun, and the nice part about once you're in like this zone, it's like you want to break the record. You want to do as well as possible. When they lose, you can kind of look back and be like, oh, that was pretty sweet.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to here around the league. So got a few discussion points here tonight. The first one I wanted to touch on was Filip Chytil of the New York Rangers. He is to miss the rest of the season with an upper body injury. It is thought to be a concussion. He had recently returned from his home overseas in Europe where he was recovering. He was on the ice here in an optional skate, him and a couple of other players this past Friday, and he had a setback and had to be helped off the ice. Like, oh my goodness, like I've never been officially been diagnosed with one, but yikes, like that's like just skating on the ice and having something happen to you, that's ouch. Like,
Yeah, and I think this is his 4th concussion, I believe I was reading, and so
wow.
it does not bode well for him. One of the Rangers beat reporters said today that it could, it's hard to say with concussions, but it could be career threatening.
Wow.
The point where he's at. Well, he's missed most of the season. With it, and having a setback just from skating on the ice and calling it on the season. So yeah, that's rough. As a Colorado fan with Bowen Byram and his concussion issues that he's gone through as well, it's hard to see a young player with so much potential and like Chytil, and he's such an integral piece of the Rangers kind of being such a well-rounded top 9 there, playing on the kid line and doing well with Lafreniere and Kakko. Who knows how things would have meshed this year, just because Lafreniere's having a better season, Kakko's not. But yeah, rough blow for the Rangers, because he's a very skilled offensive player and he can put up some offense for them. So yeah, hopefully he's able to bounce back over the summer here. And yeah, concussions, man, they're rough.
Yeah, once you start getting up in that number, it makes it real tough on a player.
Well, it's that, and it becomes a lot easier to get concussions too, which is the hard part. It's like once you see it with MMA fighters all the time. It's like once the chin has been damaged and they get knocked out, they're a lot more susceptible to it. So yeah, tough break for the Rangers and Chytil, but they'll just go and spend at the deadline and try to load up again.
Yeah, absolutely. Next thing I had on the list here, and we're gonna beat the horse while it's down because it's fun. LA Kings still can't buy a win. They lost to the Blues the other night on Sunday in overtime. They've only had 2 wins in January. They did manage to get 5 loser points. So I guess that is a bonus. That could be why McClellan still has a job. Is that they won 2 games, sort of won 5 other ones. So they got a point. But I saw here for their game, I didn't see how they were doing tonight, but I see Rittich is in net again tonight for the Kings. So they're gonna ride. They did win. They beat Nashville 4-2.
Yeah, Rittich had a good game there. He had 39 saves, 2 goals against.
There you go. So if Rittich keeps playing like that, he could supplant Talbot here, much to Devin's chagrin.
That's wild.
But
he's got a 5-1-3 record with the Kings. David Rittich, huh?
Yeah.
Alex
Who would have
Turcotte.
thought, right? Big save, Dave.
Yeah.
Alex Turcotte put up a goal and assist too. So,
what's that? Sorry,
Alex Turcotte.
Oh, is he playing now?
Yeah, he is playing today. Goal and assist.
Was that his first game? What was his first game?
I believe so.
Oh no, maybe his second.
Might be second. Yeah, second.
Yeah. Good for him. He's had a tough road to get up to the pros too, for being he was a 5th overall pick or something. Went right behind Byram in that draft.
Oh yeah, with the Flyers. That's the next one on the list. With the Kings forward depth, it's pretty hard to get in there, right? And since they traded away a whole bunch here for Dubai, and they're struggling, so he gets a chance. It's good to see.
Yeah, well, they have to try something when you have you have a team that's like built to win now, and you're not winning. that's so hard. And then, new acquisitions are not performing, like Dubois, and Kopitar had a great start to the year, and he's starting to slowly tail off as well. And
He's not
so,
exactly a spring chicken anymore. He's 36.
who's that?
Kopitar's 36, so he's not exactly a spring chicken. So
Yeah.
they might, but I think they were hoping that Dubois would take up some of the slack, and that just hasn't happened yet.
No, gosh, no. Yeah, that he was the heir apparent to Kopitar, kind of, maybe him taking a second line role and Dubois taking top line.
Yeah.
But yeah, not this year. And so
No.
they have to figure something else out to get him going. Because you can't have an $8.5 million third line player like that.
No, definitely not. They had, according to what I see here, Turcotte was fourth line center tonight. So for a goal and an assist from the fourth line center, that's darn good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. All right. We'll go from one team that's trying to dig themselves out of a hole to another one that's seems to be falling into a hole, and that's the Philadelphia Flyers. They've lost 5 in a row now. Has the early season magic worn off, and are we seeing the team that they really are? Since Carter Hart is away from the team now, Ersson's stats over the last 5 games are 1-4, 3.73 goals against, and an .841 save percentage. And they are just barely hanging on to third place in the Metro.
Yeah, they're not going to hold that. I don't think.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's what a gut punch it's been for the Flyer fans for the last while here. Like a couple years in a row where they're so bad, and then they somehow managed to not get a super high draft pick, and then luckily they're able to draft Michkov, which will be nice for them in a few years' time. Then you got the Cutter Gauthier refusing to play there, asking to be traded. Now Carter Hart, he's done. And they have a rookie goalie who's just not ready for that kind of limelight and pressure. And that is pressure. I think they're the worst team off with this Team Canada thing. I think obviously Carter Hart's the best player of the 5 players that are facing criminal charges there. So yeah, it's been a rough ride for them, but I think they were overachieving this year. So this might actually do them well to get closer to where they should have been and get a better draft pick. Because I think they still need to build and add some talent there.
No, that makes a lot of sense. What do you think, John?
No, I'm with Evan on this one. That I think they're playing more to their standards, and they're not a team that's built to win. So yeah, they still are missing some pieces, and it'll fall in their lap eventually here, but it's not now.
It's not, but Torts gets every ounce out of his teams. So I would not be surprised coming out of the break that they can shake some of this stuff off, but not with that kind of goaltending. So, and they have to figure something out in net, and I don't know if it's not worth it for them to spend any assets to get a different goalie in there. So,
well, they've got Ersson, they've got Peterson, which they got in the trade, LA. That 3-way trade that sent Provorov to Columbus. They've got another, was it Sandstrom, I think, in the AHL too. It's just who do you, like you said, Peterson's the next one up. You're not going to bring up Sandstrom and send Peterson down again unless Peterson is actually that terrible. I don't know what his AHL record is, or even if he played in the AHL, but he played any games. But Ersson's been great up until this last little stretch here. So
yeah, that's the thing when you have a young goalie working in a tandem, it works well because you don't feel the pressure as much. You might get the second half of back-to-backs, these kind of things. So and you're playing weaker opponents, so it's good. But now everything just kind of falls onto his lap, and all the drama surrounding Carter Hart and everything go along with it. That's a big ask for a young goalie, and he's a high pedigree goalie. Like, he was probably a top 10 goalie prospect heading into the season too. So he's got what it takes to get there someday, but it's just too much too soon. But like I said, coming out of the break, who knows with a Torts team? He might get these guys going, and because they're still in a playoff spot. It's
here's
up to them, really.
Here's the teams they played in their last 5: Colorado, Tampa, Red Wings, Boston, and the Senators.
So
that's a tough run.
Yeah, you got three legit cup contenders in there. I still include Tampa as a cup contender.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Detroit can score in bunches if your goalie's not on, and Ottawa, who knows? But it's
that's a tough one. What do they got coming forward here out of the break? So, out of the break, it doesn't get a whole lot easier. Florida, Winnipeg, Seattle, Arizona, the Leafs, and then the Stadium Series game. So it doesn't get any easier for them coming out of the break. So we'll see how that shakes out for them.
Like John said, it's they're playing a bit over their head this season, and that you figured it was going to come down to earth at some point, and they just haven't yet. And so it's almost like, these things had to transpire for it to happen. And so we'll see, but I wouldn't put any money on them getting better through the season with that goaltending.
Yeah, no, I can't see it either. The team going in a different direction is the St. Louis Blues. They have now won 5 in a row. They beat some decent teams, the Canucks, Kraken, the Red Wings. Binnington and Hofer have combined for 5 wins. Binnington and 3, Hofer had 2. 245 GAA, 920 save percentage. Thomas and Buchnevich have been led the way with 8 points and 7 points. The Blues are now in the second wild card spot, tied. Well, LA will be 2 points ahead of them now. But when I wrote this, they were tied with points with 54. So see if the Blues can make some magic coming out of the break here and keep going.
Unfortunately for them, they fumbled the very last game from last night, I believe it was. They played Columbus, and Merzlikins got his first shutout in 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. So everyone thought that St. Louis was just going to walk over them, but it was a 1-0 game.
Defensive battle.
Boring.
Oh, there you go. Some tarnish to the armor.
Yeah, it's too bad. That would have been nice to be sole possession of first wild card heading into the break. But I'm just looking at the standings here. They got 2 games in hands on Nashville, who's tied for the points, who's sitting outside the playoffs. 1 game in hand on Kraken. That's great. That's a nice turnaround for the Blues.
Yeah.
After a rough start, and if they got the right guys going and the goaltending's going all right, they're not going to jump up into the Central Division, that's for sure, with Dallas, Colorado, and Winnipeg having such strong seasons. But you get into a wild card spot, anything could happen. Yeah. I don't see them touching either of the top teams, but stranger things have happened.
No, and those wild card spots are, well, you look at them, right? So there is Los Angeles is 56, the Blues, Nashville are 54, Seattle's 52. Arizona and Calgary they're only 3 back, like 3, so 5. Like, it's still the way the ups and downs have been in the West, that those wild card spots are still wide open. Even Minnesota might still have a chance at 47 points. I don't think the Ducks, the Sharks, or Chicago are going to have a hope, but
Yeah, it's a lot closer than, like, let's say the East, where there's a 6 point gap from wild card to the last or the next team in the standings. So yeah, anything can happen coming out of the West. I'd say this looks pretty close to what the standings will look like at the end of the season, would be my guess.
Yeah, because you look at the Flyers are holding on to third in the Metro, but if they were, and that's the only reason why they're in that spot is because they're in the Metro division. If they'd have been in the Atlantic division, they wouldn't even be in a wild card spot.
Yeah, true.
Because they got Toronto and Detroit at 58 points. They hold the 2 wild card spots, but they're in the Atlantic division.
Yeah. So it's hey, good for the Blues and Blues fans. They're turning it around. They're getting it from top of their lineup too. Like you said, Bushkevich and Kyrou are having a good bounce back to a rough start of the year.
You betcha. We will switch gears now to the Buffalo Sabres. So, been a rough season for the Sabres. They they're not having the season that they had hoped. They guess a bit of a step back, as you could say. And they now have lost Jack Quinn again here to injury for another 8 weeks. He just had surgery on a lower body injury. He just came back from off-season Achilles tendon injury. Played 17 games and now he's on the shelf for another 8 weeks. Like, yikes! Like what? I don't know. What do you do in Buffalo? Just ride this. All you can do is basically ride the season out. They're not gonna be making the playoffs.
Yeah, that's another rough go here in Buffalo. It's tough. Like, Tage Thompson's not having even close to a similar season than he had last year, and this Quinn injury, he's been actually one of their better forwards since he came back from his original Achilles injury. So, and I think they might have lucked out a little bit because it did look like a fairly gruesome the way his leg kind of like bent back there. So for him to be out 2 months is, he's saved himself from any sort of major tears in his knee or anything like that. But yeah, rough go for Quinn, who's like I said, he was looking great coming off his injury, and so I don't know what the Buffalo Sabres do. I think they just got to keep riding it out, and then eventually their GM's just gonna have to put on his big boy pants and make a big trade. He's gonna have to package some of these prospects.
Make a decision, and
yeah. So
I think that's what they're waiting for.
Yeah, I think you're right there too. I think they'll put something together and they'll see some big names be gone.
Moving on from that, I did a little bit of research here the past few days, and I put together for our FHHL Fantasy Tier League. I put together an all-star lineup, and what I did is I based it on performance at ADP. So, took a look at who's performing the best and where they were drafted at. So, I did a line here. So, I did a center, left wing, right wing, 2 defensemen. And I went with 2 goaltenders. Reason why I did that is because there was only 1 point separating the 2 of them in terms of total points. So I had to include both of them. So coming in at center, we got Robert Thomas. So he is 17th in our fantasy league scoring, and he was drafted in the 18th round of our draft. So
he's having quite the year.
That's a nice return.
You bet. Coming in at left wing, Filip Forsberg for Nashville. He is 25th in our league scoring, and he was drafted in the 9th round. Following him in the draft was Sam Reinhart. He is 11th in our league scoring, and he was also drafted in the 9th round by me, by the way. Just pointing that out.
Nobody saw the season that he was going to have.
No, not at all. Not at all. For defenseman, Noah Dobson, He is 31st in league scoring, but third amongst defensemen. He was drafted in the 10th round, again by me. That's why my fantasy team is doing so well. Because if it wasn't be for these two, I probably wouldn't be anywhere near where I am in there. Although this one was better. Michael Matheson, so Montreal Canadiens defenseman. He was 97th in league scoring, 9th amongst defensemen. He was drafted in the 12th round. And then our two goalies here. So I got Connor Ingram and Joey Decord. They are 93 and 95th in league scoring. That's 6th and 7th amongst goalies. Neither of them were drafted. They are both waiver wire pickups.
That's pretty wild. I wonder how much for next year's drafts, just no one's going to take goalies. Everyone's going to be like, no, goalies, just pick them up on waivers and you'll take the crown.
Yeah.
Just got to keep an eye on it.
I've done that for a couple of years now. Last year in our ESPN league that Devin and I are in, I took it to like the extreme. My last 3 picks were goaltenders. And funny enough, I got 2 Leafs goalies. Nobody wanted Samsonov and nobody wanted Matt Murray. So I got them both super late and ended up helping me and ended up being a great deal.
How many teams in this league?
It's a 10-team league.
10-team league? Oh, okay.
So it worked out quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, Samsonov had a great year last year too.
Yeah. Well, I had said it was gonna, if the Leafs were gonna make the playoffs, it was gonna have to be on the back of Samsonov, and that was pretty much what happened. I said he was gonna keep Dubas' job, but Dubas didn't want the job, so they canned him and moved on. But yeah, I forgot to, when I did this, I was gonna put in what their total points were in for each of them. I forgot to do that.
Unacceptable.
I know, right? John, you can do the show notes next week. We'll make sure that doesn't happen again. Right?
Now you're just being silly.
What, you don't want to do the show notes next week?
No comment?
No comment.
That's a full-time job, show notes.
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
Here, we'll just do a quick sort here. So in our league right now, so we have, Sam Reinhart has 468.6 points, total points in our league. That's 37 goals, 25 assists. Robert Thomas at 429.85 points, 17 goals, 35 assists. Let's see here. Philip Forsberg, 401 points, 23 goals, 27 assists. And then we move into Noah Dobson, 379.95 points, 6 goals, 46 assists. Moving down to, where did Mr. Matheson go?
He's hiding.
He is hiding. Oh, there he is. He is at 288.95 points, 7 goals, 27 assists. But he's got some nice peripheral coverage. And then our goaltenders are coming up on the next page here. Or better yet, I'm just going to sort for goaltenders because they're the last 2. So actually, after the Seattle's game here the other day, Decord has actually jumped ahead a bit. He's got 298.5 points, 15 wins. Connor Ingram has 292.5 points on 17 wins.
How many points does Shesterkin have in your guys' league this year?
Where is Devin? Cover your ears. 224.5. He is, oh boy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. He is 18th. He is slightly ahead of Alex Lyon.
That's not very good company.
Jordan Binnington has more points than Shesterkin does this year.
That's just embarrassing.
Want to take a guess who the best goalie is?
Stuart Skinner.
No, Stewie hasn't made. Oh, Stewie's 8th. Thatcher Demko. 378 points.
Makes sense. Yep.
I wasn't paying attention, Devin. Is that 2 minutes ago, or is that 2 minutes in 2 minutes?
No, that was like 2 minutes, 30 seconds ago.
So we're going to break, is what you're telling me. Oh, we got a minute. Peter Mrazek even has more points than Shesterkin does.
Wow.
Yeesh.
Wow.
Yeah.
That tells you a lot right there. That's.
And Jake Ottinger has less points. Sorry, John.
Yeah, you really fleeced me on that one.
Hey, but you got Brock Besser, though.
Yeah, he's okay some of the time.
He got 30 goals this year.
Yeah, but it seemed like nothing in the last bit, though.
Okay, so he might be on a bit of a cold streak.
Well, he got Hattie not too long ago.
That's what got him over the 30-point mark.
Okay, fine, but other than that, he was amazing at the start of the year, and then you traded him, and then he's not that great.
So, and I took a gamble. I thought Ottinger was going to have a good season, so I thought get them together because I really didn't think that it would that getting the Buffalo. I was just hoping the Boston 10. Oh, we're going to break. I will talk about it after. And welcome back here to the Hacks Hangout at Edmonton Sports Talk. We were just talking about some goalies in our Fantasy Hockey Hacks League. See how they're going. Just looking here, the 2 goalies you traded to me, John. Allmark has the same amount of points as Shesterkin, and Swayman has about 50 points more.
Okay. That I don't know.
Even Markstrom has more points than Shesterkin.
Was he the highest goalie taken in your guys' draft?
Excuse me. Draft results. Who was the first goalie taken? He was, yes, by Chad's legendary team. He went first. The second goalie he went off was Ottinger. That was me. Grant took the Sorokin next. And then John took Vasilevsky at 12th. You don't want to know where Vasilevsky is in that list.
I really don't.
You really don't want to know where Vasilevsky is in that list.
What were you thinking, John? He was out for the first 6 weeks.
I was stashing him for playoffs.
Interesting.
But he still sucks.
Well,
I think
if you're gonna bet on a goalie, like that's the goalie to bet on. So
yeah. All right.
It's just been a bad year for my whole team.
All right. Let's move. So I think here, do we want to talk about the All-Star weekend at all? All-Star game? Does anybody want to talk about the All-Star game?
I haven't
Yes.
really been paying much attention. The skills competition sounds interesting, so
Well,
that might get me checking in. But
they're actually using skills this year. That's one thing they did is they really simplified it. They're not shooting pucks off the rafters anymore and bouncing it off the scoreboard and that. It's actual skills this year.
Hey, I haven't looked again. I remember hearing that they're going to do the fastest wrist shot and backhand too.
Oh,
to go along with slap shot.
I didn't
I
read
heard
that.
that a
That'd be
while
cool.
ago. I haven't double checked recently to make sure that that's actually what's happening. But I thought fastest wrist shot would have been cool. I would have liked to have seen Bedard in that. But
Oh yeah, that would have been because I think he would have been. He's got a great shot.
Even up there, his release is unreal. So, yeah, it's All-Star weekend, and so it's if you got nothing to do on Saturday or Friday, and you tune into, they're doing a live draft again to pick the team, so that's cool. I like that. And then skills comp will be interesting with the $1 million purse, and so yeah, if you got nothing better to do, throw it on. Not something you want to plan your day around.
No, probably not. I won't. I only had Twitter reminded me it was this weekend. Other than doing the show notes for the podcast on Sunday, said, "Why is there? Oh, it's only 6 games this week." Yeah, that's right, All-Star weekend.
Yeah,
that's great. So, John, you want to add anything?
Not a whole lot.
No.
The $1 million purse is nice, just because hopefully you get a little bit extra out of the skills.
Is that for the skills or is that for the team that wins the game, the mini tournament?
Oh, maybe I heard that wrong.
Oh no. So they have, I think it's 10 or 8 players that have been picked, and those guys are the ones doing all the skills, and it's weighted, and whoever does the best in all the skills of the players wins $1 million.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it adds some excitement into it for the guys, and they've picked all the top players to do it. So you'll see like McDavid, McKinnon, McCarr, I think is it. I don't know. Should have that list actually.
I wonder if that means McDavid's going to go back into the fastest skater competition.
Well, they do it all. All these guys are doing all the events.
All the players are doing all the events.
Yeah, not all the players, but just the 8 or 10 that are doing this.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. That'd be something to see.
It's a neat idea. I think, and didn't they say that they consulted with McDavid on how to make this more exciting, and he kind of worked with them to come up with this format?
I did read something about that too. Yeah, because it was getting really gimmicky, and it was like, okay, we're shooting pucks off of a freaking golf tee box now. Like, come on, guys. Like,
yeah, it was getting really silly. Come on, give me the list of players. Participation list. Here we go. All right, let's see what we got. So I guess we could predict who we think will win. 12 players. So we got McDavid, Draisaitl, Hughes, Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, David Pastrnak, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Matthew Barzal, and Nikita Kucherov. So the who's who is all going to be doing all the events in the skills comp. So that's who do you guys think? Who do you think is going to take it?
Oh, I'm going to go with McDavid and Draisaitl.
We can only pick one.
It's McDavid.
Draisaitl's
oh, you guys are going Jesus, hey? I'm going to go with Nate Dogg and Nathan McKinnon.
He's having a great season.
Whew. He's been, I've always said, in the spring, there's always a conversation that shifts. It's like, well, who would you actually really rather have, McKinnon or McDavid? Just because playoffs McKinnon is just, he's a beast out there. And he's playing all this year like playoff McKinnon. The guy is on a mission.
And he hasn't been hurt. And that's another thing, too. He's had
Shut your
no
mouth.
injuries
Shut your
yet.
mouth, Bruce.
So, knock on wood. Quick,
dare.
knock on wood.
Don't you dare. Yeah.
He's healthy, and that's the big reason why. Because he usually, past seasons, he's missed a month, various injuries. You add it all up.
Yeah, he
But
plays so hard. That's the thing. Like,
and I think
he
he's
was
second in
very
scoring.
similar to Austin Matthews in that regard. Well, not necessarily the playing hard part, but they would both miss, a good 10 games or so of the season.
Yeah, he's 1 point behind Kucherov for the league lead.
Yeah, those guys just keep going back and forth, like 3-point night, 2-point night, 5, 4. It's something that McDavid can't catch up to him.
No, he is currently tied with JT Miller at 67 points. They're in fourth place. But the next jump up is 5 points to Pasternak at 72, and then it's another 12 to get to McKinnon at 84 and Kucherov at 85. So that's a big hill to climb.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get there. Not with the way those two guys are playing this year.
No.
But how about that? Like the shift of the league where you got two guys pacing for 140-point seasons that aren't Connor McDavid or Liam Draisaitl. So
I know. But I think like McDavid said, he'll give up that trophy to get the Stanley Cup. So
for sure. And then I think this is more of a system thing and protecting the lead with the Oilers rather than like Woodcroft was like, go, go, go. We're going to, it was a track meet.
Yes, it was. All right. Let us move into the hot or not section. So we have got quite the group of players in here. Devin's got a nice group here for us. So we'll start with the first player in the hot section. This is, I wanted to say Prius, but it's not Prius. It's Pius Suter. 3% roster.
Pius?
Pius.
I don't know.
So 3% in Yahoo, 14% in Fantrax. Suter is quietly having his best offensive season, currently on pace for 42 points, 12 goals, and 18 points through 35 games this year. He's playing top 6 minutes next to JT Miller, and I think that's supposed to be Brock Besser, not Rick Besser, but unless he's changed his name recently. He's also getting some time on the first power play unit, which probably evaporated now that Lindholm is was traded for, but wait and see what happens there. Suter should remain fantasy relevant to the end of the campaign. 6 points, 4 goals in his last 3 games played. 21-36 time on ice. He's getting an 81.4% power play share, And on the 27th of January versus Columbus, that was against Columbus on the 27th. His Tevish is 10.2, and he's got 20.7-ish. So he might slow down a little, but he'd be the fourth Vancouver player with a shooting percentage over 20%. I think Miller was over 20%. Besser was over 20%. Ersson was just under 20%. So
it's career years going on in Vancouver all around.
Yeah.
So it's ride it while it's going good because there will probably be a regression. but yeah, for Suter, he's having a great season, and like you said, it will regress. His ice time will go down a bit with Lindholm coming in, and just depends. I wonder what Tage wants to do with the lines there, because that Lotto line is lights out, but that doesn't leave much left for the rest of that middle 6. There, you're looking at Hoglander, Lindholm, Mikhailiuk, and Suter, Joshua.
Yeah.
So Granlund. yeah, he's hot right now. And if you picked him up, you're probably sitting there with Lindholm news, and you're like, God damn, you know.
Well, I've seen a couple lineup projections here. So they've got Lindholm between Pettersson and Mikheyev, Miller between Besser and Suter, and then Joshua Bluger and Garland on the third line, Hoglander, Aman, and Lafferty on the fourth line. And then, so they've got Suter on the second power play unit because Lindholm took his place on the first power play unit. That's some projections that I've seen here.
Yeah, on that Vancouver top line, has it been JT Miller playing center? Do you guys know?
I believe so. Let me just see if I can. There used to be an option here where I could click some previous. It's not going to let me do it. They just show stats.
Yeah, I always thought Elias was playing center on that top line, but if he's playing wing, and I know Lindholm has played a fair amount of wing in his time too, in his career. So they got some versatility going in there because JT Miller can play the wing as well. So so they'll be able to load up top line, spread things out.
Be very, very nice. Next guy on the list here is JJ Peterka from the Buffalo Sabres, right wing, 17% in Yahoo, 57 in Fantrax. We talked quite a bit about Peterka in the podcast and earlier this season, so I stop now. He's carved out a solid role next to Dylan Cousins and Zach Benson on the second line and is seeing time on the second power play unit. It is worth mentioning Peterka did see a 57% power play share versus the San Jose Sharks on the 27th. Could that be sustainable? 8 points, 6 goals in his last 8 games played. I picked him up earlier in the season when he was on a bit of a heater when Thompson went down the first time. But he's been very solid back there. We think he was one of our breakout candidates here for this season and doing a good job so far.
Yeah, he's been solid. He's putting himself a nice campaign up here.
He's been probably their most consistent forward in Buffalo this season. And he's a dynasty guy too. He's still young. He was only drafted, maybe 3-4 years ago, second round pick. And he was always, because you look at Jack Quinn, Zach Benson now, even Peyton Krebs, and he's kind of like risen above all of them so far. So he's definitely worth grabbing if he's available in your league, because he's on a heater right now, 6 goals in 8 games, and he keeps getting better and better and better. So whether you're in a keeper or if it's a 1-year league, I would take a long look at Peterka.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he's only 22.
Young. Did 1 year in the A, did great. Actually, him and Quinn both played in Rochester together, and then and then he came up in his rookie year last year and had a solid campaign. And then this year he's just keeps progressing. And he doesn't seem to be slowing down. And someone will have to take that second line spot from him in Buffalo.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
There's lots of talent there. Lots. And they got more coming up too.
Well, that's why I say they have to start packaging these players together to make a splash, because they got prospects that will not develop because they just have so many prospects. They've done so well at drafting forwards. Like usually a tad undersized but skilled, good skating. But they need to turn those into defense and find a good partner for Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power there. And they're going to have a top pick this year too, like a top 10 pick again, by the looks of it.
Yeah, which they weren't hoping for, but it just kind of the way it happened.
It's Buffalo. This is like deja vu with, especially with Tage falling off. It's like deja vu when Eichel had his breakout year, and then it's just just falls apart. And it's like, how how many rebuilds are we going to do?
Every time.
Well, they shouldn't have to do many more with that group of prospects and stuff they have. They shouldn't have to do much more, you would think.
Yeah, it's wild because they have so many great players at all positions. So if Devin Levi does not step in next year and have a great season, and UPL likewise, they have to do whatever it takes to get a starting goalie because they can't have another season like this.
Yeah, no, they can't. All right, next guy on the list, Mr. Charlie Coyle, Boston Bruins. So he's rostered 60% in Yahoo, 72% in Fantrax. Sometimes a player just needs more opportunity to flourish offensively, and that appears to be the case with Bruins center Charlie Coyle. 42 points, 18 goals in 49 games. Coyle's on pace for 70 points this season, centering Brad Marchand and playing on the first power play unit should ensure Coyle continues to be a fantasy contributor. 12 points, 4 goals in his last 8 games. 18%-ish. That's not bad. I like that. That's a nice number. It's well above his career average of 11.2. Tevish is 10.7, so it's due for a bit of regression, but he's fitting nicely there.
Yeah, as a Bruins fan, I love Charlie Coyle. I think he's an upper echelon third line center in this league that can chip in offensively. Was great skill, and you're seeing it this year with almost going a point per game, and you get to play with Brad Marchand all season. So yeah, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down, at least for this year. And some, like you said, his 18% shooting percentage is a tad high, but things are working for him this year.
Well, we all thought Boston was going to be screwed, right? When you lose your 2 top centermen, and Zacha and Coyle have filled in quite admirably here for them.
Yeah, I think the moral of the story is just don't sleep on the Bruins before the season starts. And they have this the leadership is passed down through generations and players, and it just seems to they all kind of come together, and it doesn't hurt when you got David Pastrnak stirring the drink there, and you got that goalie tandem, which I'm sure you're loving, Bruce, by the sounds of it.
Very much.
You picked up the goalie tandem from John. So yeah, Bruins keep rolling, and Charlie Coyle having the best offensive year of his career.
Johnny, anything to add?
Yeah, basically just what Evan said. Don't sleep on the Bruins. You could write them off at the start of the year, but that's never going to be that way.
So next year we'll have to just talk them up through the whole off season, and then they'll just collapse.
Hopefully. But yeah, no, Charlie Coyle's having himself quite the year. He hasn't put up numbers like this in his career, but even back to his better days in Minnesota, or to his best season there in Minnesota, he still wasn't producing anything like this. So no, that's really good on him. It's definitely playing hot right now.
No, that's good. Next guy on the list here isn't the guy that we wouldn't necessarily suspect for offense. That's Mr. Anthony Cirelli, the Tampa Bay Lightning. 3% rostered in Yahoo, 21% in Fantrax. Cirelli's never been known for his offense, but has been rolling lately with 8 points, 2 goals over the last 6 contests. He doesn't see much power play time, but has a significant top 6 role, 5-on-5. And the Lightning will need him for they're going to make the playoffs again, right, John?
Yeah, he started the year off pretty slowly, but the last few games he's been playing really well, getting some of that confidence here, and no, it's good on him. Like I say, at the start of the year he wasn't doing good at all, and now to see this, it's definitely a welcome sight.
He's got flanked by Brandon Hagel and Nick Paul, so he's got a couple of good wingers there too.
Yes, a solid veteran wingers, and Cirelli, like he's paid to be a two-way guy. He's helped them win 2 cups as a two-way guy. He'll chip in. I wouldn't bank on him putting up a ton of points in the long term, but he's a bit of a streaky player when it comes to that offensively. So yeah, he might be worth hanging on for the duration here because the Lightning are, they're gunning for the playoffs, and he's a big game player. So he'll step it up when the time comes here.
No, most definitely. All right, we've got one guy left on the hot list, and that is hey, look, it's an Edmonton Oilers goaltender, Calvin Pickard. He's rostered 7% in Yahoo, 9% in Fantrax. Relevant probably only in the deepest of leagues. Pickard is proving to be a competent backup to Mr. Skinner and an option to spot start when he gets the nod between the pipes. 4-0 in his last 4 appearances with a 1.74 goals against and a .931 save percentage, along with 1 shutout. The defensive system that Chris Knobloch has implemented appears to be sustainable. Definitely, right? Like when you got your backup that can go in for spot starts and do what Pickard has done since he's called up, you can't really ask much more out of your backup to do that.
Yeah, you're getting those kind of numbers. He was going to be your AHL goalie this year. So
Yeah.
it's so that's a good point, Bruce. That all of those statistics there are a testament to the Oilers system and them playing a team game.
Because you look at Skinner broke Fuhr's record, I think, for wins in a row, winning streak.
Yeah.
Like they're doing it right. Hopefully they can continue that. All right, let's go to the cold list. And man, this is some cold list. I think this guy was on the list last week too, and he just yikes. All right.
He just can't get himself off this list here.
No, Mr. Johnny Tavares, rostered 96% in Yahoo, 94 in Fantrax. At 33 years old, age-related decline appears to be creeping up on the Toronto Maple Leafs captain. He's on pace for just 61 points. That would represent his lowest offensive output since his rookie season in 2009, 2010. Just 1 goal and a -6 rating over the last 10 games played. Yikes.
That's brutal.
Not bad for $11 million.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is the 11 million. I'm surprised he's only 33. He feels and looks older than that.
I agree.
I get it. That's 15 years since he's been drafted. Man, time flies. But yeah, that's not a great season. But you know what? He's coming off of. I'm making excuses for him. I'm not even a Leafs guy, but he scored the biggest goal in Leafs history recently last year to eliminate Tampa to get out of that first round.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to make of these numbers here. I guess Matthews is making up for it, Nylander, and it's got to be, like you said, an age-related decline, but he's not that old, really. 33, you are going to see a bit of a decline. I guess he was a point per game player down to 65 or so. Yeah. I just don't pay much attention to him. Leafs.
It's not like Crosby, who's well past a point per game, and he's 36. Pavelski, you look at some of these guys that are older and they're still producing at a torrid pace.
Yeah, but Crosby's still.
What's that?
Crosby's still top guy in the league almost.
Well, you could definitely argue that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because it's I almost envision Crosby as being the younger player. Maybe it's just because of his playing style or just how they've kind of morphed into Tavares being more of that, middle six center, a little bit more on the defensive side of things for them. But
there was talk of him moving to the wing, but they just don't have the center depth to do it.
One more year at that 11 mil, and then Leafs fans can finally.
Then they'll have their fourth line center for $1 million.
Yeah,
that's probably where he'll end up. Next guy on the list here, we briefly touched on his team earlier. Tage Thompson, 98% Yahoo, 98% in Fantrax. Tage Thompson is currently on pace for just 59 points. That's a far cry from the 94 points, 99-point pace, and 47 goals he scored last season. Thompson's shooting percentage is below 11% for the first time in 3 seasons, and his Tavares is just 7.9%. Things should improve for the 26-year-old who just managed 1 assist here in the last 7 games. I have to wonder if he's still injured.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know why things should improve for him. Like, he's having a bad year, and you would hope things would improve for Tage, but it's been a big drop here. And it's funny because last year was his first year of that big contract, I think, right? It's not this year. Yeah.
No, it was last year.
It was last year. Okay. So he lived up to it. It wasn't even that big. It turned out to be a pretty good deal. And so yeah, there's just something going on in Buffalo. I think there's just this lack of chemistry or cohesion or something going on there where guys just aren't taking that next step or even regressing a little bit.
Well, it's injuries too, right? They just can't seem to stay healthy.
Yeah. It's rough. I would, if you have Tage Thompson, you got to hold him though. At this point,
definitely
in fantasy hockey, you
definitely
have to hold out that he is going to bounce back to some degree, and unless you're in a keeper and you flip him and you try to trade him, so.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Next guy on the list is Mr. Boone Jenner, Columbus Blue Jackets. So Jenner was starting to cool off prior to his injury in December, but now has not registered a single point over 9 games and is just on pace for 42 points. Oh, it's that Columbus team. I don't know if you're going to get any points. Yikes.
Yeah, no, I think that's just it. The teams,
other than the Russian kids, they seem to be the only ones that are scoring.
Yeah, and actually, Adam Fantilli out 8 weeks now.
Yes, after taking a skate cut on his leg.
Yep.
Must have been a gnarly cut to be out 2 months. Or must have got a tendon or something. Yeah, and guy's calf muscle. Yeah, Columbus, like Buffalo, just something funky going on there. Well, we know there's a systemic issue with the Columbus Blue Jackets at this point, with that report coming out that that players aren't wanting to play in Columbus, and so it's a lot to do with the management. It goes along with that.
Yeah, it's Keckalainen and well, it started with Babcock. They got Babcock out. They brought Pascal in, and it just it's been funky this whole season. It's like you just want to flush it and start over again. But Merzlikins wants out. You had a defenseman here that wants out now too because he's not getting playing time, and Lyonnais in the player assistance program.
What a mess.
Goudreau, has he even been playing? I haven't heard his name mentioned in a long time. Is he still playing?
I think he's probably outside of his rookie year, he's having one of the worst seasons of his career this year.
It's the 3 Russian kids that are there's a Chinikov, Marchenko, and what was the third one? Those guys seem to be having the best time out of all of this.
Yeah, Goudreau is 32 points in 50 games, minus 20.
Yeeks.
Yeah. So that'd be close to his 60 points or so. For Boone Jenner, though, he was kind of gifted first line minutes at the start of the year, and things were going okay-ish, and he was actually producing quite well. That's not where he should be slotting in on a good hockey team, though. So players like that will regress as the season goes on, especially if they have a hot start. So he's better suited to be a second line center on an okay hockey team, a third line center on a good hockey team. in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that sounds about right. Voronikov, that was the other one. He was the other one. So yeah, he's playing well. He's well above his level or where he should be. Oh, we blew past the sign off for EST. So, oops. So, we're still live on the YouTube channel. So, we got a couple players left to do. So we'll polish those off and we'll call her a night. The next one here, Oilers fans will be familiar with, Mr. Evan Bouchard. He's having a great season. He's currently on pace for 78 points and 20 goals. However, over his last 5 games, Bouchard just has 1 assist and no power play points to show for its efforts. Given his line mates and deployment, though, there probably isn't much to worry about for the rest of the season. But yeah, he's got finally seeing his first slump of the season.
I still don't like the guy.
He's just,
I don't care what any of you guys say.
just don't like him, eh?
I'm not on the bandwagon. Nope.
are you an Oilers fan?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I've always just hated Bouchard for some reason. I don't know why.
Huh. That's interesting. Because he's your best offensive D-man by a mile. He's got a bomb. Yeah, but yeah, he'll bounce back for sure. He's got too much opportunity. Like no one's going to be taking those minutes from him. And hey, the nice thing is you guys have won all 5 of those games. So has your power play dried up over the last little while?
I don't think so.
Off the top of your head?
It hasn't dried up, but it hasn't been.
It hasn't been clicking like it did last year. Well, I don't think you're ever going to repeat last year.
Yeah, and that's fine. You want to find a good medium because you can't rely on that in the playoffs. But 1 assist in 5 games. Is he in the All-Star game or no?
No, just Draisaitl and McDavid. They didn't even get Hyman in.
That's all right. That break for a guy like Hyman would be nice.
So Edmonton's power play is 4th in the league at 27%. They're behind the Rangers. The Carolina Hurricanes have the 2nd best. Tampa's got the best power play in the league.
Yeah, you want your differential to be in the top 10, your power play and penalty kill. Yeah. If those 2 combined can be top 10, then things are looking good come playoff time.
Oilers penalty kill is 5th in the league.
Oh, well, hey, there you go.
Hurricanes are 4th. The Flames are the 3rd. Philadelphia is the 2nd. And the Kings are the 1st. They have the best penalty kill in the league, but they can't win a game to save their lives.
Strange.
Yeah.
Oh. And
the last guy on the list, well, we talked about him a little bit earlier here when we were talking about the Flyers, and that's Mr. Samuel Ersson from the Philadelphia Flyers. So he hadn't given up more than 3 goals in a game since October 28th. But over his last 4 games, he has given up 4 goals on 3 separate occasions. Winless in his last 5 appearances and sporting a cool 4.49 goals against average. Gee, I think I was playing that. And an 826 save percentage. It may be time to find another goaltender to stream for the time being. Yeah, no kidding, right? In that schedule we talked about coming out of the break, I may have to find a new goalie to stream in my ESPN team.
Yeah, I would not be starting Ersson in any game soon here. But I said my piece on the goalies, and it's too much too soon for the kid.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's kind of like in Buffalo with Devin Levi, how they finally succumbed to send him to Rochester, and I hope he stays there the whole year. And it's just, if it's not working at the NHL level, you can damage these goalies, and so they need to be, you don't want to coddle them, but of any players in the NHL that you need to coddle is a young goalie, and make sure that they're not, because it just can just start snowballing, and this break is perfect timing for Philly because they haven't fallen out of the playoff spot. and they get a chance to regroup. And they were probably a bit shell shocked with what happened to Carter Hart too.
Yep.
Just coming after the Cutter Gauthier, and it's like, what is going on? It's just like bad news after bad news. So Tortzel, get the most out of those guys the rest of the way. And yeah, if you have Samuel Ersson, put him on your bench.
That's where I got him sitting right now.
Yeah,
He's on the bench.
yeah.
That was the last guy on the list here, guys. So unless you had any other player you want to talk about tonight, or we're into overtime.
Yeah, OT.
OT.
Yeah, no one I can think of off the top of my head.
Johnny, you got anything to add?
I got nothing.
You got nothing? All right.
I got nothing.
And we will call it a show. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to catch our podcast that we put out here. We recorded on Sunday. It goes up Monday morning with our schedule, waiver wire picks. And don't want to miss John's list. John, you going to be there on Sunday for the list?
Oh, sorry. I got to look at flights to see when I got to pick some people up at the airport when they come back. So I got to see when those are. It might be interesting.
Might have to put the list in early.
I'm pretty sure it's Sunday night, so I got to check that out.
All right.
But yeah, I'll find a name for the list for you.
All right, boys. Let's call her an evening. Hey,
so one good game coming up for college hockey. So the Beanpot is getting started here right away. You got Boston College against Boston University Monday night. So if you're interested in watching Macklin Celebrini, a lot of good prospects, both sides. Yeah, that'll be a great hockey game. And Beanpot is a riot to watch. So
there you go.
A heads up for everyone there.
All right. Check it out. All right. Everyone, have a good evening.
All right. Good night, everybody.